Hey bullfrogs, welcome back, and I'm glad that y'all, it looks like that all of y'all listened to the books, or to the chapters that we read yesterday. And so I hope that you enjoyed it. Today we're going to pick back up at chapter 7, arm exercises. We're reading book number 27, Thanksgiving on Thursday, and I think we're going to be able to finish this book today. All right, here we go. Chapter 7, arm exercises. Priscilla led Jack and Annie away from the village toward a large field. The Pilgrims and Wampanoag men had already gathered there. Jack could hear the beat of a drum, but he couldn't see what was going on. "Make haste, or we will miss it," said Priscilla. "Miss what?" asked Annie. "Captain Standish is about to lead the men and boys," said Priscilla. "They will exercise their arms." Why do they exercise their arms? Jack wondered. Will they expect me to join in? As they hurried after Priscilla toward the crowd, Jack practiced. He stretched his arms out wide. He made circles in the air. Then he flapped his arms up and down. Priscilla caught sight of him. "What art thou doing, Jack?" she asked. "Exercising my arms," he said. Priscilla smiled. Then she started to laugh. She laughed and laughed. So did Jack, but he wasn't sure why. A loud bang came from the field. Jack jumped. He stopped laughing. A puff of smoke rose into the air. As the crowd parted, Jack saw the Pilgrim men and boys proudly holding up their long guns. "What just happened?" said Annie. "The men fired their muskets," said Priscilla. "On special occasions, they like to show off their arms." "Oh," thought Jack, "now I get it. The long guns are muskets, which are also called arms. So exercising arms means firing muskets." Jack blushed. "Priscilla must think I'm an idiot," he thought. And here's a picture of Jack exercising his arms. But she just smiled at him fondly. "I thank thee for making me laugh, Jack," she said. "I have not laughed hard in a long time." Jack shrugged as if he had meant to make her laugh. "It is time now to serve our feast," said Priscilla. "I must help with the bread." "What can we do?" asked Jack. "Return to my home," said Priscilla. "Take the turkey off the spit, put it on a platter, and bring it to a table." "Oh, great, we get to help with the turkey," said Annie. "I always help with the turkey at home." "Good," said Priscilla. "May thou feel my home is thy home today." Jack was excited too. He and Annie were about to serve the first turkey at the first Thanksgiving. They ran back to the smoky house and rushed inside. "Where's the platter?" said Jack, looking around. He saw a flat wooden block. "Well, that must be it." Annie picked up the wooden platter. "Well, how do we get the turkey on it?" she asked. They moved close to the fire and stared at the turkey roasting on the iron rod. "That must be the spit," said Jack. The spit sat on iron legs. It had a handle. Jack pushed his glasses into place. "I'll lift the spit," he said. "Then we'll just push the turkey onto the platter." "Be careful," said Annie. Jack reached out and wrapped his fingers around the handle of the iron spit. Y'all see what's about to happen, don't you? "Ow!" he shouted. The handle was super hot. He yanked his hand away and knocked the spit off its legs. The turkey fell into the fire. The grease from the turkey sputtered and popped. The turkey burst into flames. The fire roared. "Ah!" yelled Jack and Annie together. They jumped back from the hearth. Jack grabbed the water pot on the floor. He threw the water into the fire. The fire sizzled and smoke billowed up. When the smoke cleared, the fire was out. But the turkey was completely black. Here's a picture of all that just went on. Chapter 8 is called The Feast. Jack buried his face in his hands. "I don't believe it," he said. "I just burned up the Pilgrim's turkey." "Stay calm," said Annie. "I'll get Priscilla." No, don't get Priscilla, moaned Jack. We have to tell Priscilla, said Annie. She hurried out of the house. Jack lifted his head and stared at the burned turkey. Oh, man, he whispered unhappily. The Pilgrims had worked so hard to get their food. They had had such a terrible winter, especially Priscilla, and now he had ruined their first Thanksgiving. The door opened. Annie pulled Priscilla over to the hearth. See, said Annie, the turkey fell into the fire. It burned up. I did it, Jack confessed. Priscilla just stared at the burned turkey in the wet, messy hearth. Then she looked at Jack. He looked away from her. Oh, Jack, Priscilla said softly, thou looks sad. He nodded. I ruined everything, he mumbled. No, thou did not, said Priscilla. She reached out her hand. Come. Priscilla led Jack and Annie out into the bright autumn light. Look, she said. Jack saw Pilgrim women and kids walking to the table. They all carried wooden platters piled with food. In the other houses, there was cooking also, said Priscilla. Jack saw roasted ducks, turkeys, and deer meat. He saw baked fish, lobsters, eels, clams, and oysters. He saw pumpkins, beans, and corn, dried plums, berries, and roasted nuts, steamy pots of soups and puddings, and loaves of baked bread. We had a very good harvest this fall, said Priscilla. We stored many vegetables. We salted our fish and cured our meat. And today, our Wampanoag neighbors brought back 5 deer from the forest for our feast. Jack was relieved to see all the food. Priscilla knelt down and looked him in the eye. See, thou did not ruin anything, Jack, she said. Thou and Annie have helped me a lot this day. You have both made me laugh, and you have both acted with kind hearts. Jack was amazed. He thought he'd been no help at all. Come, said Priscilla, let us join the others. Art thou hungry? Jack nodded. Seeing all the platters of food had made him really hungry. He and Annie followed Priscilla. In the golden glow of autumn light, Jack and Annie joined the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag at the long tables. Priscilla gave Jack and Annie wooden plates. She gave them big white cloth napkins. Then she served them plenty of food. I'll give you a minute to look at this picture because there's a lot going on. Doesn't that look like a fun feast with everybody? Before they started to eat, Governor Bradford stood up to speak. Those of us who came here on the Mayflower did not know how to live in this land, he said, but Squanto came to help us, and today we give thanks for him and for the peace we share with his people and for all our great blessings. Governor Bradford looked at Jack and Annie. Welcome to our feast, he said. At this moment, 3 worlds, your world, our world, and the world of the Wampanoag are not 3. They are 1. 'Tis the magic of community. Indeed, said Annie. She clapped her hands and looked at Jack. We did it, she whispered. Did what? Thought Jack. Governor Bradford then put his napkin over his shoulder. Now, he said, let us feast till our bellies are filled. As everyone started to eat, Annie leaned close to Jack. We found the special magic, she whispered. The magic of community. Remember the rhyme? She repeated Morgan's words. To find a special magic, when work and toil are done, gather all together, turn 3 worlds into 1. Oh man, said Jack. He'd forgotten all about it. We can go home now, said Annie. No way, said Jack. We have to eat first. Jack and Annie used their fingers to pick up their food, and they ate and ate and ate. Jack tried everything on his plate except a little bit of eel and 2 clams. Everything he did eat, he liked, even the turnips. Food really tastes good, he thought as he chewed, when you eat it outside on a beautiful day with lots of nice people. All right, chapter 9 is called Good Day. Slowly the feast came to an end. The guests wiped their plates with their last bits of bread. Then they wiped their hands and faces with their napkins. Jack and Annie stood up. "We have to go home," Annie said to Priscilla. "Aw, thou must go back to thine own community now," said Priscilla. Annie nodded. Then she kissed Priscilla on the cheek. "Thanks for everything," Annie said. Jack wanted to kiss Priscilla too, but he was too shy. "Thanks, Priscilla," he said. "I thank thee, Jack," she said. Then she leaned over and kissed his cheek. Jack felt his face grow red. "Excuse me, sir," Annie said to Governor Bradford, "but we must leave now." "Oh, but we have not yet taught thee how to grow corn," said the little girl Mary. Squanto stood up. "Come," he said. "I will walk Jack and Annie back to the forest. I will teach them." "Oh, thou dost not have to do that," Jack said quickly. He feared that once they were alone, Squanto would figure out they'd never met before. But Squanto only smiled and waited for them to follow. "Bye, everyone," said Annie, waving. Jack waved too. All the pilgrims in Wampanoag waved back at them. The skinny dog barked. Squanto led Jack and Annie away from the village toward the autumn woods. As they passed the cornfield, the dried stalks swayed in the breeze. They made shushing sounds. Squanto stopped walking. He pointed to the field. "You must plant corn in the spring," he said. "Put the seed in the ground when the oak tree bud is as small as a mouse's ear." "Oh, wait, please," said Jack. He slipped his notebook and pencil out of his bag. It was the first time he'd had a chance to take notes all day. He wrote, "How to plant corn. Oak tree bud equal mouse's ear." Then he looked up at Squanto and nodded. "Dig holes and put 2 rotting fish in each hole," said Squanto. "Rotting fish?" said Annie, making a face. "Yes, rotting fish is good for the soil," said Squanto. "On top of the fish, place 4 corn seeds. Then cover them with dirt." Jack quickly wrote, 2 rotting fish, 4 corn seeds, cover with dirt. "Got it," he said, looking up. "I give you these corn seeds to take home," said Squanto. He held up a small pouch. "Thanks," said Annie, taking the pouch. "Thanks a lot," said Jack. "Well, goodbye." Jack was eager to get going before Squanto could ask them questions about the past. "Wait, I have a question," said Annie. "Squanto, why did you say you remembered us?" Squanto's dark eyes twinkled. "I did not say I remembered you," he said. "I only said I remember." "What did you remember?" asked Annie. "I remembered what it was like to be from a different world," said Squanto. "Long ago, I lived with my people on this shore. But one day, men came in ships. They took me to Europe as a slave. In that new land, I was a stranger. I felt different and afraid. I saw the same fear in your eyes today, so I tried to help you." Annie smiled. "We thank thee," she said. "And now you must always be kind to those who feel different and afraid," said Squanto. "Remember what you felt today." And there's Squanto telling them. That's a good lesson. "Indeed," said Jack. Before closing his notebook, he added one last thing. "Be kind to those who feel different and afraid." Squanto bowed. "Good day, Jack and Annie," he said. "Good day," they said. Squanto turned and headed back to the village. The sun was setting. All of Plymouth was lit with a fiery light. "It really was a good day," said Annie. "Yeah, it was," said Jack. Annie sighed. "Ready to go home?" she asked. "Indeed," Jack said. They started running through the woods. Their feet crunched through the red and yellow leaves. They scrambled up the rope ladder into the treehouse. From the distance came the sounds of the pilgrims singing a hymn and the Wampanoag beating their drums. Annie picked up the Pennsylvania book. She pointed at a picture of the Frog Creek woods. "I wish we could go home," she said. "Goodbye, Priscilla," Jack called. "Goodbye, Squanto," said Annie. "Goodbye, everyone." the wind started to blow. The wind blew harder. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. I know y'all just said that with me because that's what y'all always do. I love it. And I miss y'all so much. All right, last chapter. Chapter 10 is called Thankful. Jack opened his eyes. He sighed. They were wearing their own clothes again. His leather bag was a backpack. Sunlight slanted through the treehouse window. As always, no time at all had passed in Frog Creek. Home, said Annie. She held up the pouch of corn seeds. Proof for Morgan we found a special magic. The magic of community, said Jack. Annie placed the pouch on the floor next to the scrolls from Shakespeare and the twig from the gorillas of the cloud forest. Let's go, she said. Jack took the research book out of his pack. He left it under the window. Then they climbed down the rope ladder. As they started through the woods, a warm wind blew, rattling the leaves. Jack felt happy. He was looking forward to visiting their grandmother today and seeing their cousins and aunts and uncles. You know, Pilgrim kids had a really hard life, said Annie. Yeah, they did as much work as grown-ups, said Jack. Maybe more. Worst of all, lots of their friends and family members died, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. Both were silent for a moment. If they could be so thankful, said Annie, we should be really thankful. No kidding, said Jack. Really, really thankful. And they were. And there's a picture of the bag of corn that they got from Squanto. All right, that was the end. Ooh, I love this story, even though it's Thanksgiving and it's a weird time to read it in March. But man, you know what? It's never a bad time to be thankful. And also to think about, now that we're spending more times with our families, that you could be a huge help. You could learn maybe how to cook some things and how to make some things and how to do some things that we don't normally have time for. I know that y'all are probably feeling cooped up of being at home, and hopefully with this beautiful weather you've been able to get outside a little bit. But I also want to just remind you and hopefully get inspired by Jack and Annie getting to help so much with the Thanksgiving feast, that you could try to do some of the same type of things at home. Don't just sit there and let your parents do everything. Jump up and help them, because they're just getting as tired of being inside too, I'm sure. So this was an awesome book. Tomorrow we will begin, this is 27, tomorrow we will begin High Tide in Hawaii. Book number 28, High Tide in Hawaii. So I know I saw Lily just went to Hawaii with her family for spring break for 2 weeks. And so I'm sure that she'll enjoy this one along with anybody else that's ever been to Hawaii. I've never been to Hawaii. I would love to go. That's one place I would love to go. But anyway, that's what we're going to read tomorrow. So I hope you're doing well. I hope that you are ready for a weekend coming up tomorrow. And I miss y'all, and I hope that we will get to meet again soon on some kind of social media other than this. So y'all take care. I love you, and I miss y'all. Bye, bullfrogs.